Hi, welcome to my porch. And today, I'm so excited, going to talk to my friend Alys Dickerson, who's with us as an actress this summer. This is your what season?
Fourth season, if we count the COVID year. So
Yeah,
this is
we do count the COVID years because they were rough and hard years. Mm-hmm. So I always want to start out by saying, well, first, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
I'm excited.
I am too.
I told you I'm a little nervous.
I know, but it's like we sit and talk a lot.
Yeah.
So we could just sit and talk.
Yes.
The first thing I want to ask you is like, when was APT on your radar? What's your first memory of like APT?
Okay, great question. I actually did not know a lot about APT until grad school. And my classmates were just like, oh my God, APT, it's like the white whale, and like I want to work there, and they have excellent shows. And then my first year, we came and auditioned here.
I remember.
I came and auditioned here.
You remember what you did?
I did. It was like the first... I didn't book my first audition here.
I remembered you though.
I did oh my gosh, I don't rember what I did. I think I did a Caesar. No?
Tear my hair.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember.
Yeah, you did. It's This Hair of Mine. What is it? It's you don't remember.
I don't know.
Someone's gonna remember that monologue.
I don't. Oh my gosh. But anything pre-COVID, I've kind of let go. So that's probably that. But I remember I was working on a show in Chicago, and then company member Kelsey Brennan had come to see it. And I guess she was just like, hey, this girl was awesome or something like that. And I'll be honest, I was like working 2 shows. I was so tired. One of my friends in the show I was doing, I think it was at Remy Bumpo, and she was like, hey, I think we should go and do this general at APT. And I was like, hey, I'm on my last paycheck right now. I'm really tired. I don't know if I can commit to this. And she was like, I just think we need to, shut up and do it.
Good friend.
Yes, great friend. And I was like, okay. It was like, it's such a tale. I was driving, I was literally on my last tank of gas. I drove all the way up here, coffee spilt on my resume and headshot, and I was just like, what am I doing here? It's only for her. I'm not even doing this for me. And I walk in, and like, those auditions where you're just like, F it. It was really one of those. And then Carrie was like, there's someone I want you to meet. And then she texts you, and then I was like, oh, something's happening. Something's happening here. And then I did it again, and I guess the rest is history, and now I love it here.
Oh, it was, you did Constance. That's who you did.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was blown away.
Oh my gosh, Constance, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I was blown away.
Jeez.
And I remember, and you were so available. Maybe it was because you were just so...
I did that, and then I did Portia.
Yes.
I know I did a Portia, and then I think I did another August Wilson or something like that. There was a lot.
And you were just so available.
Thanks.
Immediately. You always are. It's part of your specialness is how your heart is kind of outside your body.
Thanks.
It's
Brenda.
It's true though. and that's a really hard thing for a lot of actors to do, is to be vulnerable. But doesn't seemingly feel hard for you.
I love that stuff. Actually, yeah. I'm a very melancholic person by nature. The show I was actually doing before I auditioned here was Melancholy Play, and so I was just like, I'm ready to cry, I'm ready to feel. And it's actually like the comedies that are a little harder for me, because I'm kind of, even in grad school, this was the same thing. They were like, you're so good at like really being vulnerable. And I was like, thanks. Thank you, I think that's good. We want to see like your chumminess now, your joy now. And I was like, oh my gosh, why is that? It's different for everybody.
Everybody, right. And different parts of your life.
Yes, exactly. And like what you can actually cultivate. But yeah, that's kind of the thing that's like harder for me, is actually like making someone laugh on stage, at least. But, when we're chilling, it's a different thing.
Right.
It's a completely different thing.
And it's so interesting because I would never describe you personally as melancholy.
Oh, really?
I would describe you as deep.
Okay, cool.
Like you rarely have a surface conversation with you. Like you think you can sit down and talk about anything that's not deep.
Yeah, small talk kind of makes me sick, actually. I like really only have like 2 minutes of small talk in me, and then I'm like, what's your favorite color? What's the sky mean to you? Do you like the stars? Like I'm kind of like, tell me something that'll like crack open your soul. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've always been that way.
You've always been. I can sense. I could probably. There's a lot of people when I meet them, I think I could see you as a little girl.
Aww.
And that's so interesting. Like I can see you childlike.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a real indication to me that you're like, know who you are.
Okay. I'm glad you see that.
I do. I know you don't know who you are, but like at your core.
I think that like a big part of my childhood was always wanting to be an actor too. So sometimes when I meet that on stage, I'm like, oh man, I'm doing exactly what I said I wanted to be doing.
Right.
And it's amazing. And it always keeps me in love with the stage, even though it's hard, and the sausage making of theater is definitely difficult. But I always find some moment when I'm on stage, I'll be like, whoa, you're actually here. You said you wanted to do this at like 12. I said I wanted to do this.
Wow.
So it's really, I don't know, humbling, I guess.
It's really lucky for everybody that you found it. So what I would love to find out is when you wanted to be here. Like, what about this place made you want, and what is distinct about this place to you that makes you want to come back? Because you've been back now 4 times.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a question for everybody, and especially a Black woman coming to Spring Green and to do this kind of work. So what about APT makes you want to come back?
Gosh, it's something new every year, to be honest. Yeah, it's something new every year, all kind of circling on the authenticity of this place. And authenticity in that when this place has a blind spot, they're like, yeah, we know we have this blind spot, you know, as opposed to some other theaters I've worked for, which is like, do not look behind this curtain here. Do not look behind this curtain. It doesn't even exist. That's just one piece of the pie. But I think my first year, we did the Scottish play with Jimmy, and I had such a small track, but it was like, I don't know. It wasn't it didn't fall by anybody's wayside. It felt like I had something really principled, and everybody was there to support my process, and that was just different for me. That was really, really different. And then the stage is just unlike anything I've ever. Yeah.
Talk about that feeling of going out on that stage.
I mean, my very first. It happened in parts, like I'm saying. When I first drove in to the very first preview for 12th Night, and I saw the amount of cars in the parking lot that had just been so vacant for so long. Right. But the ticker was just like, oh man, like that's a lot of people. And then I remember walking out on stage. I remember them drawing back one of the backdrops for us to walk out on 12th Night, and I just saw like this sea of faces and was like, whoa, this is it felt Grecian, if you will. Like it felt like, you know, like we're in the middle of this giant dome in this bowl, and people want to be here. Everyone was like, this, and like sometimes theater goers are like, okay, let's see it, but like this was a very like I'm ready, and it just, I don't know, I'm getting adrenaline even thinking about it. But I will never forget that. And then just the people, really the people are amazing. I met Melissa my first year. I met Jamal James. I met some of the best friends that I have today. And then, to be honest, the biggest like green flag was when COVID happened. Right. And I was slated to do Portia. Yeah. And we were on the phone, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen next. You know, I had someone coming into my apartment in Chicago, and you were just like, hey, if I can make it work, you can quarantine here if I need to. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it just kind of came out of just the kindness, the sincere kindness of this place keeps me wanting to come back. And yes, it does have its downsides. Like the town is the smallest town I've ever lived in my life. Right. And it is definitely a predominantly white area with a predominantly white audience, and that can sometimes be just as jarring as, you know, the opposite, the retrospect that I was talking about. But everyone here seems to be willing to work that out with me and be there when I need to say, like, hey, this story is different to me, like, which we've shared, you know, my instance with the Scottish play. Yes. And I was playing Lady Macduff, and I lose my children. It's written that we all die. We all get but the way that Jimmy had it set up was that we were all in this, I guess, warrior-esque type of environment. And I was like, if I'm a warrior, I don't know that I would take this so lightly. And also...
Or without fight.
Yes, without fight, exactly. Yes. And I think we were negotiating between Lady Macduff dying really, you know, stoically and just knowing it was coming. And I sat with that, and I was like, you know, there are literally Black moms right now with their children not coming home. Right. And this story would be completely different in a sea of brown faces, because right now it's very much a sea of white faces. And I was really nervous, but it was the truth of how I was feeling. I was like, okay, do I bring this to him, or do I just do it? And I had wonderful, wonderful community here that were just like, hey, yeah, I see that and I validate that. And I walked up. David Daniel always makes fun of me. He's like, I saw you walk that long walk up the Hanamichi with Jimmy DeVita. And I just shared, like, hey, this story is different from me. We don't have to literalize anything. It doesn't have to be put on stage, but I feel differently about this. And he was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see that.
Of course not.
I didn't even see that. Yep. And I got the coolest fight ever. I got the coolest fight. Oh my gosh. And I will never forget that moment ever. And it really, this place kind of helped me find that agency, along with conversations with you, conversations with Mate Lisa. Oh my gosh, like just making sure that I bring my agency into these spaces because they need it.
Right.
The space needs it.
And the work needs it.
Yes, exactly.
The work absolutely needs it.
Right.
I often say that we do these works, and if they speak to the time, and the time speaks to them, and the time being the artists and society speaks to them.
Yeah.
And the plays, if they are great plays, will hold up and share something about the eternity of things.
Yeah.
But the time will share something with the play that will crack open things, and you'll hear things in those plays if they're great.
Yeah.
And if they're not great, then we just don't need to do them anymore. And we'll find that out in the process.
Right.
But without the bravery and the incredible work it takes you all to come into those spaces and say, I'm meeting this play here.
Yeah. And it's like, it's different, right now, not post-COVID, we're in it, but things are being talked about.
Yep.
And artists I have a responsibility. I'm not, an accountant, sitting at a desk all day. Like, I'm someone that people come to see and tell a story, and they're going to leave and remember that. And it's like, I have a duty to kind of say, hey, there's more than one story. There's more than one narrative, and we need to hurry up and normalize that.
Right.
It's 2022. But this place gives space for that. And I'm not saying it's like clean and easy all the time either.
No.
It's it was definitely kind of a like shaky moment. I know that me and Jimmy were both kind of like, I have feelings. But it always goes differently up here than how it actually happens.
If you have the right receivers in the
Yes.
room, I think that's the casting process.
Right.
Is very much not just about, it's really about asking people to take real time to experience the play on their own before they decide to do the play.
Right.
And to ask everybody to do that so that we can meet in the center with an understanding of where we're coming from and what the play is asking of us, but also the space for that play to receive the artists that are telling the story.
Absolutely.
So is there a time here at APT, or you can talk about any time, any role you've played, but I love to ask actors if there's something that they wish they had, like a do-over.
Ooh,
like,
oh my
I'd like to
gosh.
do that over.
I would love to do. Okay, I'll go with my impulse.
Yep.
And I played Antigone in grad school as my first lead ever.
I played Antigone too.
Did you really? I knew
Yeah,
it. I vibe. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to play Antigone again. Or Ismene, actually, or her sister, or anyone in that. I just really love
That's a beautiful
Greek.
play.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, that would be awesome to do. I would also love a crack at Portia. She kind of always, she's kind of always walking around in me, and I know I'm young or whatever. I don't know what.
You have a lot of time to play Portia.
Exactly.
You'll
I
get
think
to play
that
Portia.
I think that one day I will get to. But she's like been the audition piece I use when I'm like, oh, they need a Shakespeare, here it is. But I'm like, oh, I would freaking love to just taste her. So I think that's a dream of mine. But I just want to feel, I think I am an actor, a lot of artists are this way, I'm sure a lot of female artists at least, or feminine, feeling conditioned to be small when really you are big. And that's what Antigone felt like to me, is I was going through the process of learning how to do this or learning the craft of this. And I was like, why am I scared? I'm scared all the time, but I know I want to do this. And one of my teachers was like, because you've been conditioned to feel smaller than you are when really you can take up this whole room. And that's one of those roles that I was like, oh my gosh, here's the size of this thing.
Yes.
So, yes. And also what I'm doing now is giving me the opportunity to do that too. Ophelia is definitely... not what I expected. I've shared that with you many times.
Please, yes.
I did not expect to ever in my life, Brenda, play Ophelia.
Right on.
So thus I'm like, oh, cool, this role's already different. Like, it's already different because and I don't know why that is. I mean, I don't know. It's Hamlet, But there is some opportunity to really stretch myself.
And learn
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah. And like Nate said, this really cool thing at the prologue about how, when you do this play, I feel like you should get to know the actor a little bit more. And I was like, wow, I really needed that.
Yeah.
Because I think I was existing in like, I got to get it. And it's like, no, you already got it. Like, you don't have to audition for this anymore. You just have to exist in here. But the hardest part about the role, if I may.
Yes, please.
Is trying to find that agency I'm talking about in a character that is written to have -10, like none at all.
Yes.
And that's kind of been, the rub lately for rehearsal process.
Right.
At least I'm like, oh, okay. Didn't account for how she would feel. Didn't account for how all of this would feel. But then there's such a return on the investment by the time I get to open up. Don't want to spoil anything.
I cannot wait. I mean, from the moment Jimmy said, the second he was doing Hamlet, he said, we talked about Nate, and then he said, and I want Elise to play Ophelia. And I was like, oh my God, talk about that. Because I do think that I even, as open as I hope I am at creating opportunities, because we're in rep, so people get placed into roles all over sometimes because we want them to play a role here, and then we're casting them in other places. And so that kind of stretch happens a lot to a lot of actors. Right. But this was like primary, like this is the role.
Wow.
And I was like, of course, I mean, it took me like a beat, and then I'm like, of course. because for me, if I may, about Ophelia with you, from my over here just observing, is, yes, Ophelia is caught in this, this is the world she inherited, this is the gender she inherited in this very masculine patriarchal world.
Right.
And the fight in her that has to be contained.
Oh yeah.
Cracking her. Like why does that happen to that person? But if it were somebody, and I really thought Jimmy was so smart, because your heart is outside your body, but you are a person to be reckoned with. And so to tuck that in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You wonder why Ophelia, if she isn't always someone who has to be reckoned with, why would this break her? But if she's someone who has all of that and can't do anything with it, I don't know. That's my personal
I think that's why
genius.
I never saw it too, because I was like, oh, she's just that girl who can't do anything and is completely victimized halfway through the play. And then I was like, but I am not that.
Yes, exactly.
But I am not that. So what does that do to the role? And I have to already understand, it's unique and different just by the casting.
Exactly.
Just by casting alone.
And that's the brilliance of a great play. Like that Hamlet is completely different with Nate than it was with Matt Schrader or Jimmy DeVita or Randall Duke Kim, who all played a version of that person.
Yeah.
I just think it's exciting. It's why we want to do these plays again. We don't want to do them again to make them like they're supposed to be.
Right.
Because that's just not true.
Yeah, and like Hamlet is like, to me,
someone's getting flowers.
Hamlet to me is, it's a ghost story.
Oh.
It's creepy. It's everybody's haunted by something. And I, for one thing, think like a ghost comes and then all this begets another, like every haunting begets another one. And it comes down, for my character, I'm haunted by all of those rules and societal, of course, but I don't think we're literalizing any of that. I think it's like, oh my gosh, like my mind is at risk. Not only because of my circumstances, but because we're all being haunted by something. I think of it that way.
That's cool.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a before and after for her, but I think that it's all affected by this ghost. Everybody's got that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask you a completely random question.
Okay, I'm ready.
So what is your favorite word? You love words. I know
really
you.
Do. Wow. Oh my gosh. That's a hard question. Okay, I'm going to go with the first word I loved to say,
please,
was colossal.
Oh!
I remember my little girl self being like, Mom, I know what colossal means. And she was like, use it in a sentence. I was like, my heart is colossal. And she was like, okay. So impulsively, that's what I'm supposed to answer, because I'm like, okay, it must be colossal. But I love words. I'm a singer, songwriter, poet. I love words. Words are my thing. That's probably why I'm here, too.
We get to see you sing a little bit.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I forgot. Yes.
I'm so excited about that.
Me too.
Because I've thought actually about things like, how do we get Elise on stage singing? I mean, numerous times I thought that.
Now, 3 for 4. I guess 4 for 4. 3 for 3. I got to sing in Book of Will.
Oh, right.
For a second, I was selling, if you remember, fruit. And then I got to write my own song for Cymbeline. I got to do I was like the Lord, and I got to, and like now it's like this really cool, like, it was like my little side hustle, and now I'm like, oh, sweet. So I got to arrange everything for Ophelia too, which is also like like where my heart lies. Like when they said, "That's all you," they essentially said, "You
Dre,
arranged
you were
that."
with Dre under
yes,
flutes,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Isn't Dre amazing?
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's an amazing
he's so open
artist.
and
It's composer for Hamlet.
Yeah, and musicians are, oh gosh, you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You never really know what you're gonna get with musicians. But he was so open to everything, and I just was like, oh my gosh, this is a damn cool opportunity.
But that, like, I don't think the audience understands, like, we make all that music.
Yeah.
And we make that music with the composer and the artists
Right.
that are going to be performing it. And it's just interesting because I think the making of the sausage, like you said, is not apparent to the audience.
My
like,
gosh.
About how
Right.
much thought and craft goes into what.
Yeah. And for the mad scene, I'm calling it the music scene for Ophelia. It's like, I was watching a bunch of them at first.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was like, I'm done. I'm done watching. I'm just gonna try to write my own thing. And like Jimmy just was like, it is yours. You tell us what you want to sound like.
Jimmy's not gonna be able to tell you what to music.
No.
He can appreciate it, but he's not gonna give you any it's not gonna be. Yeah. Sorry.
I do like learning about Jimmy pulls from a lot from his own family experience. So I'm learning like a lot about you.
Oh my
God. A lot about your children, a lot about Gail and Sophia, and like I'm like, okay, I get it now. I see.
It's so if you didn't all meet us and know us, it might be a different thing.
Right.
It's like, my poor kids they show up in a lot of stuff.
Yes.
I'm
well, they
sure.
should. They should.
Well, they've been, like you were saying about like coming here. They were raised around this environment of like a kind of community that's and people that are completely able to connect like right away.
Oh yeah.
And then they go out into the real world and they're like.
And they're both so smart and genius. Like good job, guys. Like they're brilliant.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what's your least favorite word?
Ooh, my least favorite word is probably. Okay, I've got a beef with words like Wednesday and February, like and bologna and kernel. You know, the words that you're like, why is this not? This doesn't make any sense to me. Kernel makes no sense to me.
Kernel, which one?
COLONEL or whatever, because I'm Sense and Sensibility, Colonel Brandon. I'm like, that's not Colonel, bro. That's not it. Or like Wednesday doesn't make, me and Samantha Newcomb have a joke where it's like Wednesday. I was like, we don't even say that.
In my head every time I write it.
In February. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't sit with me.
That's so funny.
And bologna, because I don't have to explain. Everything about that's gross. Everything about bologna is gross.
Now I'm going to ask you something that I love to ask people because I think it's really telling. And you're so what if you could say to yourself at 6 or 8, little Elise, what would you say to that person that you wish you had known?
That there is absolutely nothing wrong with the way you think. Or on the flip side, your brain is beautiful. I think that I would say that as opposed to there's nothing wrong. I would say that your brain and your mind are beautiful and they're unique to you. I think because I struggled a lot in anything that didn't have to do with art. Anything that wasn't, and I didn't know that at the time, but I just struggled understanding math and science. I really enjoyed history. School was not something I loved to go to or do. And then I got in a play. And then I was a singer before I was ever an actor. So I would always kind of bank on choir or going to church and singing in the choir. Like literally that was like I loved church. I was like, okay, this is where I am fully myself. And then I did this play. I did like the play, like, what was it? Aladdin. I was a merchant woman in Aladdin. It was my very first high school play. And I ran this person out of my market with bread in my hand. And like the teacher was like, who told you to do that? And I was like, I don't know. I just feel like that's what she would do. I was inadvertently making choices and I didn't even realize it. She was like, no one told you to do that? And I was like, no, I just feel like that's what I would be or do. And then it just got more and more exciting to me. And then I said yes to acting in my undergrad when I had a teacher just totally kick my ass and say, like, you're so much better than you think you are. Like, really commit to this. But I think because I had, again, been conditioned to think small. I'd just been conditioned that, you get all A's and then like, there's a checklist that you kind of have to click off or check off. And I just never was about that. I was kind of about making a mess and, like, going to play in the mud and, like, painting with like mud and grass on the side of the house. Like I was just a weirdo. Not a weirdo, but a little artist, a little like,
I always say I love all the weird. I mean, weird is a great word.
Yeah.
For me.
For sure.
I felt the same way. I mean, almost everybody we know probably
felt
a little bit like that in their youth.
Well, that's why that's why I stuck in theater so much, is because it was the first place I felt like, oh man, I'm not weird here. I'm just like one of you, like this. It just like, and I can talk with my hands, and I can be expressive, and I can have all these feelings. Whereas feeling a lot before that was kind of like a detriment to everybody. Like it felt like if I cried a little too much, I would cry every day of kindergarten. Oh my gosh, when and if you meet my dad and mom, I cried every single day for whatever reason. We had these we had these little Velcro stickies with our names on them. And you take your Velcro sticky and you stick it on the free time that you want to do. You can go build blocks, you can go outside, you just get to choose what you want to do. And one day, my name was not there, and I was like, where's my name? And like the teachers were like, Elise, we're gonna find, like before they tried to like cut me up, they're like, we're going to find your name. It's probably just where you put. I was like, my name's not there. Where's my name? And I just was such a mess. And my dad had to come, and he was like, are you okay? What happened? And I was like, my name wasn't on the list with all the other names. Why wasn't my name on there?
Your dad was so much nicer than my mom. My mom's like, get a grip.
Yes. I mean, he got to that point. He definitely got to that point, but he would just be like, okay. I was like, can you stay with me at school? He was like, no, I go to work and make money so you can go to school. I was like, but I want you to be at school. I would just cry every day. They'll make fun and remind me of it. But I just was I didn't know at the time. I felt so misunderstood, and I was already jaded by like 8 years old. I don't know. So many emotions.
But emotions, I mean, that's what makes your accessibility so apparent to everybody. Yeah. You're so accessible. And you are a beam of light in the world, on stage and off.
Thank you so much.
I'm really, really grateful you're with us. And I'm really grateful for you for doing this today.
Yeah, I am too.
So it wasn't so bad, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. I feel good.
Okay, so see you up the hill.
Okay, bye. Yay.
That was awesome.